ChatGPT Plus is free for college students through May. Here's the thing. You've got a lot to do between now and then. Studying for finals, writing papers, trying to keep your life on track, and ChatGPT can help with all of it. It can quiz you for your econ exam, make a study guide from your French notes, plan out your meals and study breaks. It can get really specific on how you like to learn. It can even help you come up with ways to stop procrastinating. So from now until summer break, take advantage of all the ways ChatGPT can make your life easier. Restrictions apply.
Your weekend is not complete without the First Lady of New York Radio. It's the Joan Hamburg Show. Talk Radio 77 WABC.
Welcome, everyone. And I'm really happy that Mitch Albom is with me today. You know Mitch is a very prolific and a gifted writer, both nonfiction and fiction. Hard to believe, but this man has sold more than 41 million copies in 47 languages everywhere, written 8 #1 New York Times bestsellers, has done more things than you can imagine. And I just finished reading his latest book called The Little Liar. And every time I read Mitch, I say, this is your best book. But the truth is, this is your best book. I loved reading this book and couldn't put it down. So congratulations. And now that the book is out, are you on tour all over or are you staying close to home?
No, doing a lot of touring. In fact, I'm coming to New York and doing a thing on February 4th with Malcolm Gladwell, who's a friend of mine and, of course, the author of Blink and so many other books. At the 92nd Street Y on February 4th at 7:30 at night, and it's part of a national sort of tour that I'm going to talk about this book because I think it's important. It's a work of fiction, and therefore it's got characters and plot and all that. But I wanted to write a book about the precious nature of the truth, and I had no idea how it would be very pertinent today. And so it seems that there's a lot of interest in people talking about the subjects of the book and the nature of it. So I'm doing as many appearances as is possible.
No, without question. And your characters are really quite something. And I kept thinking, what a great TV series this would be.
There's already, right? That's already in motion.
That's unbelievable. And you've got Nico, his brother, and the girl Fanny. You've got incredible characters.
Yeah, well, thank you. I'll set it up for readers or listeners who don't know the story. It basically centers on a little boy named Nico, who's up to age 11, has never told a lie in his life. He lives in a city in Greece during World War II, and when the Nazis invade, they find out about his honesty. He's known throughout his neighborhood as never having told a lie. And they pull him away from his family, and they tell him that you can return to your family shortly. All you have to do is a little favor for us. We want you to stand on these railroad tracks every day and tell the people who are getting on the trains that they're going to good jobs and good homes, and everything is going to be fine. They're going to have their families together, and they're going to be happy to hear that. And just do this for a couple of weeks. And then you can go back to your family. And thinking that he's telling the truth and having never told a lie before, he does this day after day. And the people in the town who know him see him, and he's Jewish and he's trustworthy, so they get on the train. And it's only when he's in the very last day that he sees his family and this girl Fanny, who he loves, and they're being pushed into these boxcars. And it's only on that day that he finds out that these trains are actually going to Auschwitz, the concentration camps, and he's not allowed to go. And the train pulls out, and he runs after it, trying to catch up with the train. And from that point forward, it follows him for the next 40 years and shows the ramifications of that one lie on him, on his brother, who does go to the concentration camps and blames him for what happened.
It happen, right?
Yeah, on Fanny, the girl who loves him, who is the opposite, doesn't blame him, knows that something must have happened because he wouldn't have done that on purpose, and spends her whole life trying to find him again to forgive him. And the fourth character is the Nazi who pulled this whole trick off, and what the ramifications of that lie have on him. over the course of the years as well. So it's basically a parable about truth and lying, and the price we pay for the latter when we give up the former.
But I'm curious, you've written so many books, many of them you visited us on the air with. Where did this one come from? A sort of departure from a lot of the other books and themes and stories.
Well, I'd always had this idea in my head to do this story. About 10 years ago, I went to Yad Vashem in Israel, the Holocaust Museum there. I was on a book tour there. And I saw a video of, they have videos all over of survivors that they archived. And there was a woman who was talking about, they always ask us, why did we get on those trains? If you knew you were going to be killed or you're going to a concentration camp, why would you get on the train? And she said they don't understand that in our case, they had Jewish people standing on the train tracks telling us that it was okay. And we didn't know that they were being sort of threatened with their lives if they didn't do it. And so we listened to them when we got on. And I always kept that in my head and always thought, boy, what a terrible perversion of the truth. Using your own people to lie to you. And I thought there was a story there. But when I decided to do it about a little boy who loses his innocence, who's never told a lie before, then it really came together. And I've long wanted to do, all my books, Joan, have a slice of Tuesdays with Maury in them.
Right.
I've always said, even the novels, there's some lesson that I learned sitting with Maury as he was dying, that I roll around again into a book. And in this case, it was about forgiveness, and we talked a lot when he was dying about how you have to forgive everybody, everything, even the worst things, because you don't want to die with, you don't want to die with, being in disagreement. And I thought, wow, what's the worst lie you ever told? And what would you do to be forgiven for that? And so the book is a lot about forgiveness. Nico seeking forgiveness, Fanny wanting to give him forgiveness, his brother not wanting to give him forgiveness.
Right, so angry.
And, how it all comes together at the end.
Right. And can we ever find redemption?
I believe so. I believe everybody can find redemption. If they're pure in their heart and they really want to, they can. And, we see that over the course. Nico becomes kind of a fascinating character. He's kind of very enjoyable to write because after being this little boy who's never told a lie, after that lie, he becomes like almost a pathological liar. Uh-huh. He realizes that he has to lie in order to try to find his family, and he starts taking on new identities as he gets older. He becomes different people, different passports, different countries, and he ends up in America where, of course, if you're willing to be a brazen liar, you can become immensely successful. And he does, and he becomes this millionaire in the movie business, which is all about deception. And he hides there from people, and he doesn't let anybody, know who he is or what he's done. And he's spending his time just trying to seek redemption for what he's done. And Fanny travels the world trying to find him, but of course he keeps changing his name and his identity, so it's hard to track him down. And she finally, locates him. I don't want to ruin the book, but there's a reunion that's a very important part of the book.
Right. And how did you come by the movie business? That was sort of
I know the movie business. I know the movie business as you do, and I know a good deal about it. And I thought, if someone wants to lie, or deceive, where a better place than Hollywood, And I just thought there was an interesting juxtaposition of he's making stories that people want to hear, basically because, and he's really good at it. He's really good at like picking movies that people want to see because he's been pathologically lying his whole life and he knows what people want to hear. And so it's the same sort of talent, and knowing, what people want. And I just thought that would be an interesting place for a guy to hide while he was trying to make up for what happened to him.
My favorite thing about Shipt since I signed up for Target Circle 360? No price markups when I order same-day delivery from tons of local stores. Only a handful of alcohol retailers and items don't count. I won't lie, I've had too much fun being like, markups on groceries? Not in my fridge. Markups on pet food? Not for my DOG. Markups on tools, electronics, home goods, meds? Not in my house. Anyway, it's awesome. Order now at shipt.com/360. Terms apply.
Fellas, you know Degree Cool Rush deodorant, right? Well, last year they changed the formula, and guys were mad about it. One dude even started a petition. So guess what? Degree heard us, admitted they messed up, and brought the original Cool Rush scent back exactly how it was. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So grab some and remember why its cool, crisp, and fresh scent made it the #1 men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory for all of us.
5 immersive worlds, 1 amazing theme park. Get ready to explore the all-new Universal Epic Universe, featuring the wizarding world of Harry Potter, Ministry of Magic, Super Nintendo World, How to Train Your Dragon, Isle of Berk, and Dark Universe. Epic Universe, now open at Universal Orlando Resort. Our universe will never be the same. Tickets and packages on sale now at universalorlando.com.
Are we still on the trail? Is this pack getting heavier? More switchbacks? Why am I doing this?
At REI Co-op, we believe there are places within ourselves.
Just a little further. You got this.
That we find only outside.
Wow. Look at the stars. This is incredible.
We have the gear, inspiration, and advice to help you get there. REI Co-op. Visit rei.com.
Yeah, and this book took you to a lot of different places and a lot of different experiences.
Well, it did. It took me to Greece, which the book is set there. And the reason I set it in Greece is because 9 out of 10 people who read The Little Liar come up to me and say, I had no idea that the Holocaust was in Greece. And I said, that was the point. You know, we live in a time where people have heard about the Holocaust for so much and so long that you now have people denying it. And now people saying it didn't even exist, you know, it didn't happen.
Right.
And I wanted to set a story in a place where people would come away from it going, I had no idea that happened during the Holocaust, meaning there's still much to learn about what took place there. And the city that this takes place in is called Thessalonica. And actually, and this is truthful, the before World War II, of all the cities in Europe, all the cities in France and Germany and Austria and Poland and everything, it was the largest percentage Jewish population of any city in Europe.
And
it was
most
wiped
people
out.
had no clue.
No clue. Yeah, no clue. So I traveled there, did a lot of research there. And, you know, and now as it turns out, a book that talks about, you know, anti-Semitism, lying, you know, accusing, blaming people, all the rest of it, finds itself to be extremely pertinent in our time. And that's why I think a lot of people have glommed onto it and have passed it around and have written me and said, you know, boy, is this a book for our times? I can't take any credit for that. I started it a couple of years ago. You know, I just happened to finish it now. But I'm glad that it is resonating.
No, it's resonated, and it's also about survival, the art of survival.
Yes.
Whether you approve or not. And hope. And hope. You know, I don't want people who read Tuesdays with Morrie, 5 people you meet in heaven, and go, oh, but that sounds so sad. You know, I like your books because they're inspirational, hopeful. I can't write a book, Joan. You know me. You've read pretty much everything I've written. I can't write a book that doesn't have hope. I've been criticized for that. I had a critic once took me apart in one of his pieces, and at the end he wrote, "Oh, he's just the king of hope." You know, he meant it as a pejorative. Right.
But I always think, well, that's a pretty good throne to sit on. I'm okay with that, you know, and so I try to show, even in the dire circumstances, you know, that there is hope. There's a scene in the during the concentration camp period, when the book is only a third, you know, 1/3 of it takes place during those years, and the rest is over the course of the next 40 years. And there's a scene in the concentration camp where the grandfather of the family has all the people, his family, together at night, and every night, despite the horrors that they've gone through, he makes them say one good thing that they were grateful for that happened that day. And, you know, what can you say about one good thing in a concentration camp?
Right.
So one of them says, I had an extra spoonful of soup. And one of them says, my rotted tooth fell out today. And one of them says, the guard that beats me every day wasn't on today, so I didn't get beaten. And one says, I saw a bird. And it's the persistence of hope, even in the worst circumstances, that enabled people to survive that terrible time and enables us today to survive the things that we go through. We can't lose hope. And the ultimate message of the book, by the time you get to the end, is that, hope prevails.
Right.
And truth prevails.
This episode is brought to you by Principles. Are there limits to the U.S. government's debt growth? What will happen if the debts are not curtailed? What should policymakers or investors do? Those are urgent questions that legendary investor and New York Times bestselling author Ray Dalio addresses in his new book, How Countries Go Broke: The Big Cycle. The book comes out in June and is available for pre-order today, wherever books are sold.
¿Hablas español?
Sprichst du Deutsch?
Kann du noch?
If you've had that sound from Babbel before, I bet you do. Babbel is the science-backed language learning app that actually works. With quick 10-minute lessons handcrafted by over 200 language experts, Babbel gets you on your way to speaking a new language in just a few weeks. With over 16 million subscriptions sold and a 20-day money-back guarantee, just start speaking another language with Babbel. Right now, up to 55% off your Babbel subscription at babbel.com/Spotify podcast. Spelled BABBEL.com/Spotify podcast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Lights, camera, innovation. Walt Disney Studios chose advanced 5G solutions from T-Mobile for Business to transform the movie-making process. Together, we kept a remote production hub in Hawaii in sync with a team in California to bring Lilo and Stitch to theaters this summer. This is picture-perfect collaboration. This is Walt Disney Studios with T-Mobile for Business. Take your business further at T-Mobile.com/now.
We off? 30 seconds of carefree bliss.
Oof, like wind in your hair carefree.
Oh, like using Clorox Disinfecting All-Purpose Cleaner in the home carefree.
Yes.
Like dog slobbing on the coffee table and cleaning it with Clorox Carefree.
He's on a roll now.
Spit toothpaste on the faucet.
You got it. You got it.
Peanut butter on the light switch.
Oh, spritz, spritz.
Spritz, spritz. Clorox, man. Clean feels good.
Okay, we're back.
Use as directed.
And you bring that message to kids that you work with, too. Are you and your family, your wife, still involved in camps and schools for a lot of these children?
Well, we have an orphanage in Haiti that we operate, and I am there every month of my life. I've been there since January of 2010, right after the earthquake. And I go every month, and I'm sure I will for the rest of my life if I don't end up moving there. We have 60, 65 kids at any given time. We bring them in when they're very, very young. We don't ever adopt them out. They stay with us.
It's hard to adopt kids from Haiti, right?
Yeah. Well, yes, it's impossible basically at this point, but we would never adopt our kids out anyhow. We're there to, they've already been abandoned once.
Huge.
We're not going to turn them out over again, but they stay with us. They go to school in 4 hours in French, 4 hours in English, 6 days a week at our school. And so far we've had 13 graduates who have come out, and they've all gone on to college scholarships here in the States. One of them is in medical school right now.
Incredible.
And so we're very proud of them. And there's a joy in these children, even though they have absolutely nothing, a perseverance, a faith, a laugh that warms my heart. And I always feel best when I'm there and when I'm helping to see that they have a future. And a lot of that spirit of children and the indominance of children finds its way into The Little Liar, which is, starts with kids who are 11 years old.
Right. It's amazing. I'm talking to Mitch Albom, celebrating his new book, The Little Liar. So now that the book is finished and you're on the road, what's next on the Albom agenda?
Well, I have another book that I'm working on that'll come out in next year, which is a little lighter and a little simpler, maybe a little more familiar to my readers. It's about a man who gets to do everything twice in his life. And what good and what bad comes out of that opportunity. He sort of has the magical power to undo everything and get a second chance, but he's stuck with the second chance. Whatever he does on the second time, that's what he has to live with. And I'm having some fun creating that. It's a little bit different than this one.
Yeah, it is. And interesting to be able to pull it off.
Well, we'll see if I can. I'm sure I'll come back on your show.
You're pretty good at that. So Are you traveling with The Little Liar?
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to that. You know, I've been all over the country, but I'm looking forward to the New York trip.
The Y is a great resource, one of our best.
And Malcolm Gladwell is a friend of mine, and we've talked and worked on some things together over the last couple of years, and you know, he's kind enough to sort of be in conversation with me that night, and I'll probably end up asking him as many questions as he will me.
Knowing
but,
you, I'm sure.
But we'll talk about The Little Liar, and we'll talk about truth and today and other Malcolm Gladwell thoughts. So yeah,
right.
That's
and the resilience of kids. I mean, that
exactly.
Speaking of hope, there's an incredible message in there that no matter what they go through, many of these children have that hope gene in them that gets them through. Right.
And I think we could do well to learn from that. And I one other thing I wanted to mention, the book is told by the voice of truth. And I always say that, the hardest thing about writing a book after you've decided what the subject's going to be or the story's going to be is finding the voice of the book. Once you find the voice of the book and the way you're going to tell it, you're halfway home. And in my case, I searched and finally I said, you know what, it's not going to be first person, it's not going to be third person, it's not going to be second person. I'm going to have the truth be the narrator.
The story, right.
Yeah, and the book basically begins, you can trust the story you're about to hear. You can trust it because I'm the only thing in this world you can trust. I'm the mirror that holds your final reflection. I am truth. And this is a story about a boy who tried to break me. And when I wrote that, I thought, yeah, I would read that book, if it started like that. So the whole book is narrated by truth, and truth gets the opportunity to say, look at what you did to me during this time, during World War II, during the Nazis, when they lied about this and lied about that. Look at how you destroyed me. Look at what you humans do to such a virtue, and why do you treat me this way? And you can only do that if truth is the actual narrator. If it's a character, it starts to become too much. So that I think is one of the appeals of the book, and I know that's what we'll be talking about at the 92nd Street Y on February 4th.
Well, I liked the quote on the back cover. Think of Mitch Albom as the Babe Ruth of popular literature. Did you like that, hitting the ball out of the park every time he's at bat?
Well, that was Time Magazine. That wasn't me.
I know, but pretty good.
Yeah, that's a very nice, very, very nice quote. Probably way too complimentary.
Accept it and enjoy it.
Well, all right. I'll do that.
You're doing fine. And Mitch, as you know, has written many different books, from fiction to nonfiction. He's sold millions and millions of copies. And knowing him, this one, The Little Liar, is probably going to show up on a TV screen or a movie or who knows where the next adventure is going to be. But I put my money on you, Mitch.
Thank you, Joan. Well, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, and thank you for being so welcoming to me and my books.
No, I'm always happy to do it, and I look forward to seeing you at the 92nd Street Y. All the best.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. It's a great book to read. I literally couldn't put it down, and you're going to have the same experience. So get it, The Little Liar by Mitch Albom. I'm Joan Hamburg, and you're listening to WABC.